What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Cedar Point Unlimited. We've got a whole bunch of things. You know, we haven't really done a show here, Steve, in quite some time. So we got a whole bunch of different.
It's all your fault. You were moving.
It's all Danny's fault.
You got a new background behind you. Danny's going on a trip, so you guys have had to work around all the little things around that.
It's been absolutely crazy the last few months here with me moving and Danny going on the Europe trip. So we've kind of neglected the Cedar Point Unlimited. And to be honest with you, we thought we were going to have some teasers come out. We've had absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Kings Island has started their teasers. A couple of the other parks have started theirs. Just, I think today or yesterday, one of the Six Flags parks are teasing their Halloween event along with a monstrous new ride. So,
yeah, Great Adventure.
We have had silence from Cedar Point.
Yeah, Great Adventure entered the fray. Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Jeff Seaver is teasing on Texas Thrill Seekers. So we got all those parks teasing, but Cedar Point strangely quiet. We thought Kings Island might be quiet too, but like you said, they've started as well. But here with Cedar Point, a few big things did happen a few weeks ago, and I think the biggest thing that may have implications for what happens and what we've been talking about on this program is they purchased the Sawmill Creek Resort. Now, if you don't know this resort, it's further down the road. So if you keep driving down past Castaway Bay, a couple of more miles past Sports Force Park, you will eventually find the sign to Sawmill Creek. And this is a 240-room resort. It has an 18-hole golf course on the property. It has marina slips. It has restaurants. And we think that Cedar Point obtained almost all of them. From every press release we can see, it seems like they got the whole kit and caboodle for this. So this is actually a really big deal. I was just at Cedar Point a few weeks ago. The hotels were massively booked. There was not a room to be had midweek in July. The Sports Force Park, it seemed it was doing its job in late May, early June into mid-June with filling up the park, filling up the hotel rooms. So obviously they have a need for rooms, and if they're adding the Sawmill Creek, it's adding a whole nother level of experience with the spa, with the golf course. This is kind of what we were talking about for the Sandcastle Suites spa.
Yeah. And I just pulled it up on Google Maps. It's actually 11 minutes from the park, about 7.5 miles east of Cedar Point. And so if you're coming from the east side, which, Andy, you never are, but from where I'm coming from, this would put Sawmill Creek before you would pass the sports resort park. Yeah. And I'd say the Cedar Point Sports Force Park is probably right in between Cedar Point and this Sawmill Creek Hotel. I think it would still be a little bit closer to the Cedar Point Express Hotel in Castaway Bay, obviously. But I mean, yeah, we were talking a new hotel where Sandcastle was, and I mean, now it's looking like a whole lot of land for maybe rides or expansion. I was there Sunday. I got there around maybe 4 or 5 p.m. this past Sunday, and they were actually using a lot of that grass space for parking because the water park was just so packed. It was about 95 degrees, probably over 100 with the heat. So I think Soak City, Cedar Point Shores. Yeah. I think on hot days that's going to be packed, and that lot can't handle that because it's not just for Cedar Point Shores. That's typically where I park because it just takes you right in the middle of the park. But
I know last year they tried to cut down on people parking back there that weren't going to the water park. They used to have guards up. I don't know if they still do that anymore.
Yeah, I haven't seen that today. I didn't even bother going back there once to try and park back there because when I saw how packed the main lot was and just how hot it was, I was like, I'm not going to try. I don't want to drive all the way back and have to turn around. But, I mean, they were using it for parking. So worst case scenario, which would actually probably really help Cedar Point out, is they turned it into an expanded parking lot. But if they were going to do that, that's something simple that I think they would have just done right off the bat when they tore down Sandcastle.
And if you recall, when they tore out the whole challenge park too, they added a ton of parking over there as well.
Mhm.
They expanded the parking all the way up, almost all the way to Magnum. They were trying to do a preferred parking for the water park. They might have even ditched that concept. I
I
haven't.
think they did, because I do remember there being some type of like lift gate, and
Yeah,
the structure, like the little pole that would pull the arm up and down, still there, but the arm is gone. So either someone ran through it and they didn't replace it, or they just realized this isn't working and they took it out, because there weren't even that many preferred parking spaces in there. I don't think there were more
yeah.
than 20-30 spaces in there.
Yeah, and so like in my mind now, with them purchasing Sawmill, which I think is an excellent purchase for them, looks like it's going to be a really cool resort. I don't know how much money they're going to have to pour into it to update it, if any money
I
whatsoever.
think they are going to have to update it, because I'm 25. My parents went there before I was born. They said that back, so this would have been before the 1990s, that they went there, and it was a dump back then.
Yeah,
Um, so I would they just had a bad experience, never went back. And I did look at Google reviews of it when they did buy it, and there weren't many reviews. It seemed like it was very outdated. So Cedar Point is going to have a lot of work to do to update that. But I mean, it comes with a golf course. They're going to
yeah,
a lot of, I mean, just the number of people that like to golf. I mean, everywhere, but especially in the Cleveland area. I wish I was good at golf. I enjoy it, but I'm not good at all. But I mean, if it comes with like some type of Cedar Point season, like a platinum pass, season pass discount, I'm definitely going to check it out, depending on how much it is. But knowing Cedar Point being the resort atmosphere, it's probably going to be a little overpriced than your
yeah.
average public golf course, but could be a very cool experience, and get them into a different side of even the sports side of things, rather than having just your field sports. They could potentially host some type of golf tournament.
Well, and that's the other thing is all those dads and moms going to the Sports Force Park. Not all of them are going to be super interested in maybe going to the theme park, especially if they're staying multiple days. They might only want to go in the theme park maybe 1 day or 2 days. So this is giving another option to those people, another money generating option that you can have. Half the family goes to the park, half the family goes to the golf course. Just another one of those options. Also, when I was there a few weeks ago, and as an update to a story that we talked about earlier, that we said that they bought the hotel right next to Castaway Bay. That has been turned into dorms for the employees. That we know that they tore down the dorms on the peninsula right next to a Luminosity stage, those very old dorms next to Famous Dave's. They tore those down. And it seems as if they, as a stopgap for an area to put all those extra people, that they're using that hotel as a dorm right now. There's a gate on there. There's a sign that says, dorm, Cedar Point dorms. So that's actually a pretty cool idea. And I wonder if we suspect, as a previous story, we said that they had bought other land in Sandusky, and a lot of us suspected that they were going to start building maybe more dorms. Maybe this is a stopgap. Maybe this is permanent. I don't know. But that's what it seems like it's happening here, is that those hotel rooms are being used as dorms. They're pre-made for that. You
Yeah,
have
and they do have that partnership with Bowling Green going on, and I'm pretty sure downtown Sandusky, where the campus is going to be, they actually are building dorms down there as well. So while those are probably going to be like the first people who would be awarded those dorms would probably be the people who are going to school at that Bowling Green campus. But I mean, during the summer months when people really aren't staying in school, they could transfer some of those only summer employees to those dorms as well.
Yeah. So I think we're to the point now of, with them adding Sawmill, adding all this extra room space. My thinking is that back by Sandcastle, they don't need to build another hotel. Adding 240 more rooms seems like a lot of rooms to add and granted they're selling out a lot of days, but adding another 240 rooms seems like an excessive amount of rooms
It
now.
does.
And to me, to build another hotel, when I read the Sawmill Creek thing happen, that because it's been rumored for years that was going to happen, and when I saw that it actually did, I'm like, well, there's no sense in building another hotel now. So obviously out by Sandcastle or wherever Jason McClure said that they were going to add physical land to the park and go into the water and build out, into the water and actually create land. To me, that says that they're probably going to use it for rides or something, for some sort of attraction, maybe like a roller coaster. The other, I've heard rumblings. There's rumblings all about, Steve. The other rumor I heard was that in Celebration Plaza, a few things. If you notice, so Monster Jam is gone now. And I took notice of a few things. So since Monster Jam has been gone, it opens up the space a lot more, and you can kind of recognize that they actually put in some work in that area over the off season. They took out all those concrete swirl things, where they had like the barriers between that people could sit on. They took out all those concrete things in the middle, so it's just flat land over there now. And one of the rumors I heard is them actually moving Tiki Twirl and Troika over that section. Now, there was a previous rumor, too, of them bringing back Wildcat and putting Wildcat back over there. But now I'm hearing Troika and Tiki Twirl moving over there. I don't know if I buy into any of those things right now, but that is one of those areas that they have the cleared land across the street where the Monster Jam stuff ran. They have all the cleared land in Celebration Plaza. They could really put anything they wanted there at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what they did with Monster Jam in the line and how they had to have you cross the street. To have a permanent ride there, I don't think they would have you cross the street. I think you would have to...
You'd have to redirect the road.
So I don't think they would put Wildcat in its place that it originally was, because even though there is no more luminosity, that would still be very crammed while a show's going on.
Yeah.
And a ride with the queue. I also think they would try and do a little bit more than just the old Wildcat. I don't think it would be an exact remake. I think they would try and, do something a little different, kind of have it be something of its own. So I think they could start the queue there, build a bridge to go over that street, and have the queue continue over there with, where the ride actually goes in between all the trees. And, well, they'd probably cut all the trees down, but over in that land where Monster Jam trucks were.
I was talking to Danny one night, and I said, I was just throwing out crazy ideas because the Wildcat story came out. And I said to Danny, I'm like, Danny, it doesn't really make sense for me for them to bring back a Wildcat ride. And the rumor was they would only keep it for 1 year and then send it off somewhere else.
That just wouldn't really make sense to do all the work. But, I mean, they do it with carnival rides. I didn't know Wild Mouse things were even at like state fairs, but I was watching videos of a state fair, and there was a Wild Mouse coaster there, and it just blew my mind. So I mean, they're obviously very easy to move around, which, I mean, Cedar Points would probably be a little bit safer than the state fair ones, but well, the other Wildcat crashed a few times.
And I said to Danny, I said, well, here's a crazy idea. If you really want to get people excited about this 150th, what if they decided to bring in Olympia looping? And if you know anything about roller coasters, Olympia looping is like the holy grail of people who go to Germany trying to seek out Olympia looping. Olympia looping is one of those Schwarzkopf roller coasters. It is portable. It's on the fair circuit in Germany. It goes to the summer fairs, and then it goes to Oktoberfest. Danny's been searching it out. He thinks he's going to get the opportunity to ride it. And I said to him, well, what if Cedar Point really wanted to make a splash for a year? Bringing in a Wildcat isn't going to sell tickets. But if you bring in Olympia looping, that's going to sell some tickets. People will go crazy over that, especially the hardcore roller coaster people, because not everyone has the means to travel to Germany and go find the credit and go look for it. This would give it a place for at least a month and a half. If they just brought it in for July and part of August and had it back in Germany for Oktoberfest, I know it's a long shot. I know there's no room. That's me making stuff up. But I think that'd be a really cool idea to bring in.
I think the best part of that would be the general public that goes and just, they don't even know that it's going to be there. They show up, it's there, and then they come back the next year and it's gone. They're like, what happened? Like,
what was that about, right?
I must have... What park was I at?
I would love it if they actually just bought it outright, because Olympia looping, there were some rumors that Olympia looping was on this, for sale. Under the table, people are asking about questions and asking about prices. So maybe it could be for sale. Maybe I think Cedar Fair buying that, and we know Cedar Fair was in the market for another Schwarzkopf. If you know the Scorpion down at Busch Gardens, Tampa,
Mm-hmm.
there was a clone of that over in England when Cedar Fair was buying up all those rides in England, the used rides. That a lot of those flat rides that they bought eventually went down to Carowinds in their new county fair section. So the Electro Spin and the Troika and the Music Express, all those rides were bought as used, and they were actually looking at a Scorpion clone, one of those short little, Schwarzkopf loopers, and they ultimately determined it wasn't in good enough shape to buy. It cost way too much money if they could fix it at all. So they passed on it, but that shows me that they are in the market for maybe a Schwarzkopf roller coaster, and bringing a classic coaster in or buying Olympia looping would blow the world up. It would be amazing. I've heard mixed reports on the ride itself, but I know people have a fond spot for Olympia looping, and I think that'd be a really cool addition to Cedar Point to make it that classic feel for the 150th. So I guess this brings us to, well, why would they move things like Troika or things like Tiki Twirl? And you saw some flags over by Wicked Twister that were red and orange, and I've had other people send me pictures of flags over by Wicked Twister. I don't know if they're still there. I don't know if they were there for the nighttime show that they're doing. They were electrical flags. Is the red? I forget what the orange is. It's usually for
I know. So when I was there, it was if you're standing in front of Wicked Twister, they're toward the left side of it, towards the spiral on the left side.
Yeah.
And they go over, and there is also over there is a stage where they use for the Cedar Point nights, and I don't know if they even use it for something during the day at this time of year. And also there was a big electrical box over there that a lot of the flags were around. So I am thinking it mainly probably is something electrical, just to do with the whole stage setup thing in Cedar Point nights. But we like to speculate, and we've talked about Wicked Twister going away before. We've been talking for probably 3 or 4 of our shows about just what can we do over in that area. Windseeker could also come down soon. I wouldn't be surprised, just because it's never open. There's still that we talked about in a previous episode, how on the website it shows that Windseeker will not be open during Halloween weekends.
And I want to check if that's still true. I want to go check that right now.
I did check the other day, and it was still there. And then I got all excited. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to look at like Wicked Twister and Troika and Tiki Twirl." And it doesn't say anything about those rides being closed. So
it's so weird. It's just so weird that because usually with Cedar Point rumors, usually about this time, the stuff that you start hearing. So like early on, I heard the Wildcat stuff. I heard the stuff about Gemini leaving.
A lot of that stuff is just things, people making things up, and it just goes from one person to another, and someone gets a hold of it like us, and we're like, oh, wow. And then more people hear it.
Yeah. But right now, the rumors you hear at this point of the season, usually at Cedar Point, start becoming more and more true. So them moving those 2 rides, if you move those 2 rides, you could literally build a wood coaster around the Ferris wheel. We know that if you look at what Kaga did, they built Gold Striker around their Space Spiral ride. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that you build a roller coaster around another ride. They literally just did it at California's Great America a couple of years ago. The same year that I believe Gatekeeper opened was when Gold Striker, I think it's 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wrong about that. But they built stuff around rides. If Wicked Twister was to go, that gives you even more space to work with. Having looked at the beach myself this year, we talked about them maybe redoing something over there. They just redid all the fencing, so I don't think we're going to see them go further out into the beach.
Right. And with how the lake has rose this year, the beach is a lot short. If you've been to Cedar Point and been on the beach this year, it's a lot shorter. There's less of a distance to the water, just with how high the water's gone up. And also, I mean, we know Kings Island's getting a big ride. I don't think that Kings Island and Cedar Point would want Cedar. I don't think Cedar Fair would want to have Kings Island and Cedar Point get something big in the same year.
I don't know. I don't know. I think that's why Cedar Point's being quiet. I think they're going to let Kings Island have their moment in the sun. And I think it's going to be, it's not, and what I'm saying is a wood coaster is what Cedar Point needs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to blow the world up or anything. I think it's going to be, even if they put in a GCI Twister, would it be the best new ride next year? I don't know. A lot of people like wood coasters, but you see how Mystic Timbers didn't go over very well.
I like Mystic Timbers. I really like it.
I love Mystic Timbers.
The first time I rode it was on New Year's Eve this past year for the Winterfest.
Uh-huh.
And I got front row. It was great.
It's a great ride. It's fun. You get a lot of airtime on it. It's fast, especially in certain conditions. So them getting a GCI Twister, something a lot like Gold Striker, where you could twist around stuff. That midway is so big to begin with. You have all that land. You could move some other stuff maybe outside of Planet Snoopy. You can move some of those things around. There's so much stuff you could do there. And like you said, well, they're not really prepping the area yet, but a wood coaster wouldn't take you all that long to put up. That you already have a pretty flat pad of land over there. Yeah. Everything's flat. It's concrete. They've leveled the stadium. If you took out Wicked Twister, you could take out Wicked Twister, during Halloween weekends, and then you could start building everything else right after the season closes. And there shouldn't be really any reason you can't finish that.
I forgot about the stadium. I feel because they put up a stage there. If they wanted to have just a stage there long term, they could have kept the whole stadium, build a stage inside of there, and have your Cedar Point Nights thing or whatever they do with it.
Honestly, what they're doing on that stage might have been cooler inside the stadium.
It would make you feel like you're kind of in a concert, probably. I don't even know what show they have there. I haven't gone to Cedar Point Nights and probably won't because
I was there a few weekends ago, and they're just playing music for 5 straight hours. It's a live band. They're doing cover songs. Like, it would be perfect to have those sort of seats, and I don't know how the sound echoes off of the metal seats or anything because they were metal benches up there, or were they? Were they concrete?
No, they were metal.
Yeah, that's been a while since I was at that stadium. So it's just like you said. Why did they level it if they're just going to put up another stage? There has to be a master plan here, and I don't know if this is for 2020. Or maybe it's for 2021 too. Maybe they got big plans for 2021. Maybe next year is simply going to be the anniversary. But even Tony Clark said multiple times, "Oh yeah, we have all these things planned."
We've heard nothing.
We've heard nothing.
Nothing
at all.
The only things that we've seen is they've repainted the trains for Corkscrew.
Yep.
They added banners into the Gemini station, which I guess they had when it first opened.
And to me, why would you add? I guess banners are pretty cheap, but if you're taking out Gemini, why would you go and add stuff?
Right.
Like, why spend any money on it? I don't know. But to me, it just seems like they're staying quiet. That Kings Island's going to have the big Giga Coaster, but I'm not going to. There's a precedent there that when they put in something like Gatekeeper, they put in a Gold Striker. When they put in Diamondback, they put in a Prowler. You have a long history of them putting in a major steel coaster, but then also doing a wood coaster on the side too. Which is why I remember when Mystic Timbers was being rumored, we're like, okay, so Mystic Timbers is the wood coaster. Where's the big steel coaster going? And ultimately, it went nowhere. There was nothing there.
Yeah.
And it just seems like all the Cedar Fair parks have been quiet too, which is the other interesting thing. Is Kings Island is really the only one talking. Dorney Park, nothing. Kaga, nothing. Knott's, nothing. Like, it's just like Knott's never gets involved. Knott's only gets involved by force, I think. Sometimes, like someone calls them up, be like, "Start something, do something," and they take a
Just
picture of.
start poking them with a stick. Do something.
They like when they posted the picture of the Hang Time logo on a coaster, and I'm like, okay, that's like right on the head there. Like, thanks guys, like you nailed that one. But it's just like Carowinds is like teasing a little bit, but they just got a coaster, so I'm not really expecting them to go back-to-back years with coaster.
Yeah.
That wouldn't make sense to me at all. So I don't know. I feel like something is still happening at Cedar Point. So I have not given up hope here, Steve. I still think something's happening for next year. Something.
Next time I go, I'm just going to go on a scavenger hunt through the whole park.
Well, I think the areas to look are by Wicked Twister, by Luminosity, and I know getting back to Sandcastle is a lot harder, and I don't expect that to be utilized.
I'll just ride Magnum and
yeah. Well, I tried that.
Take a quick peek at it while we're going around that pretzel loop thing.
I tried, but I was riding Magnum at night because that's the best time to ride. So
yeah,
you can't really see anything. We had some fantastic rides. We went on a Saturday and it rained pretty much all day. There's a huge storm that came through, and we walked in the park. The storms went out. Walked in the park with 1 hour left at 11 o'clock. It was Saturday. We got a ride on Magnum, a ride on Maverick, and a ride on Steel Vengeance, all by
all in 1 hour.
In
That's
1
the
hour.
way to do it.
that was a glorious evening there. The next day the lines are kind of long, so we kind of like
yeah.
we got our good rides the night before. But I think that'll wrap us up here tonight. There's a lot of little stuff going on, not a whole lot of big stuff. Hopefully we'll get some big stuff. Hopefully we'll get some big news coming out of Cedar Point.
Hopefully we'll get some Halloween's news coming up. So I keep calling it Halloween's haunt now. Well, Halloween's haunted Halloween's, whatever.
If we can get some Halloween's information or anything about this 150th, like this is like a huge deal, and we know nothing so far. And
yeah, they've been hyping this 150th up from 2 years ago, and we've just gotten nothing. Nothing.
Silence.
Just gonna get a birthday cake, and there's like "Happy Birthday, Cedar Point," and that's about it.
The other interesting thing is, if you look at the social media, they have been focusing on Wicked Twister a whole lot.
I have not noticed.
What's
the bicentennial? Isn't that the thing with the barn, and they paint a barn?
Yeah,
it's an Ohio thing. Maybe they'll paint that.
Yeah. That's in the petting zoo section, the bicentennial farm, right? The barn. They paint.
Is it already painted?
Well, they haven't repainted it. It's
maybe they'll repaint it. That'll be their they'll paint a barn.
Well, they painted the court or mine ride, so they put the
they did.
So we'll see. So as always, I am Andrew Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois,
and I am Steve Lynn from Cleveland, Ohio.
Right on, Red Warriors.